Ever notice how the wild can look like a family reunion that nobody really planned? One minute it seems peaceful, and the next it feels like every neighbor on the savannah has shown up hungry, nervous, and ready to argue over dinner. Across these plains, life is always moving, always watching, and always just one heartbeat away from trouble. In this story, we'll follow lions, their rivals, and the many animals that have learned to live with them. There will be chases, close calls, and moments that can change in a flash. Some scenes are harsh, some are beautiful, and all of them are unforgettable. So settle in and come walk the wild with us. And before we begin, say hello in the comments and tell us where you're watching from. Have you ever seen a place that can turn from a soft green carpet to a dry gold plain, almost as if the land itself is breathing? That is the Serengeti Plains in northern Tanzania and southern Kenya, a vast stretch of grass, open sky, and faraway acacia trees. In the rainy months, the whole world seems to wake up here. The grass grows thick and fresh, and the air feels cool and alive. Birds call from the brush, hooves drum in the distance, and every patch of shade seems to hide a story. This is home to lions, zebras, wildebeest, gazelles, leopards, hyenas, and many more. It is a land built on motion, on hunger, on new life, and on the constant tug between hunter and prey. The air changes before the cat appears. Dry grass, warm dust, and the sharp scent of fear hang over the plain. Then comes the sudden whisper of movement, so quick it almost sounds like the wind itself. In that open country, one small mistake can turn a feeding ground into a battlefield. Meet the cheetah, the fastest land animal on Earth, built for speed and made for life on the wide grasslands of Africa. These sleek hunters depend on clear views, room to run, and a burst of power that can settle a chase in seconds. At first glance, the cheetah looks almost fragile compared with the heavier cats. But that slim frame hides a machine made for one job: catching swift prey before it vanishes into the grass. Everything about this animal points to speed, from its long legs to its narrow body and flexible spine. A cheetah's days are shaped by patience. It spends long hours resting in the heat, watching, waiting, saving its energy for the right moment. When it does rise, it moves with purpose. It usually hunts alone or as part of a mother with her cubs, and it relies on sight more than smell or sound. It looks for animals like Thompson's gazelles and young wildebeest, prey that can sprint hard but still be caught if the cheetah gets close enough. The trick is not strength, it is timing. A cheetah must creep in low, using grass and dips in the land as cover, then explode into a run. That chase is short, often less than a minute, because speed comes at a cost. The cat can overheat fast, and if the prey escapes the first rush, the hunt may be over. So the cheetah lives by careful choice. It does not waste energy on big fights it cannot win. It avoids lions, leopards, and hyenas whenever it can, because these bigger, stronger rivals can steal a meal in an instant. Family life matters deeply here too. A mother cheetah raises her cubs mostly on her own. She teaches them how to stalk, how to hide, and how to judge a chase. Her cubs stay close at first, tumbling together in the grass, learning through play the skills they will need to survive. But the wild is hard on young cheetahs. Many do not make it. That is why every lesson counts. A cheetah's body tells the whole story. Its coat is covered in black spots, like drops of ink scattered over gold. Dark tear marks run from the eyes down the face, almost like racing stripes, and many people believe they help cut glare from the bright sun. The body is light and slender, with a small head, long tail, and deep chest. Those long legs give the cat a huge stride, and the tail works like a steering wheel during a high-speed turn. You can almost see the design in motion. It is built not for power, but for precision. In the grand balance of the plains, the cheetah matters more than many people realize. It helps keep prey animals alert and healthy by targeting the cautious, the weak, and the unlucky. And because it needs large open spaces, it is also a sign that the grasslands are still healthy enough to support fast life. That makes protecting it important. When open land is broken up by fences, farms, and roads, the cheetah loses the room it needs to hunt and raise young. Seeing one race across the savannah is like watching lightning touch the earth. It is one of those moments that reminds us how wild and beautiful this world still is. Have you ever seen a bird that seems to be wearing a long gray overcoat and a pair of striped socks? That is the kind of odd, elegant sight waiting at the water's edge. The marsh is cool and quiet here, with reeds swaying in the breeze and little rings spreading across the surface like someone tossing pebbles into a pond. Then, a sharp call cuts through the stillness. The grey heron stands in these wet places like a patient fisherman with all day to spare. It lives across Africa, Europe, and much of Asia, and it is built for long hours beside rivers, lakes, and wetlands. Those long legs, hooked bill, and steady stare make it one of the most recognizable birds in the wild. In the Serengeti wetlands, it shares the mud and shallow water with hippos, fish, frogs, and all the small creatures that depend on this rich, lively place. Its body is a lesson in patience and precision. A grey heron is tall and thin, almost like someone stretched a coat rack into a living bird. The neck bends in an S shape, ready to snap forward in a flash. Its wings are broad and pale, with soft grey feathers that help it blend into the mist and reeds. When it stands still, it can look almost statue-like, but there is nothing dull about it. The bill is long, straight, and sharp, like a hunting knife made for spearing fish. The head wears dark stripes and a black crest that stream behind it in the breeze. Up close, the bird has a rough beauty. Tall legs, slow steps, and a poised way of holding itself make it seem calm and serious at the same time. It is the sort of bird that looks as if it has been thinking for a very long time. Most of the day, the grey heron is working the waterline, one careful step at a time. It hunts by standing motionless or moving slowly through the shallows, waiting for the right moment. Fish are its main meal, but it will also take frogs, insects, small reptiles, and anything else it can catch with that quick strike of the bill. When it spots prey, the whole body seems to tighten. Then, in a split second, the neck shoots forward and the bird spears its target. It is simple, but it works. In a place where every meal matters, that kind of patience is gold. The heron does not rush around wasting energy. It saves strength, watches the water, and lets hunger come to it. That is one of its secrets. It can spend long stretches waiting in one spot, almost like a person sitting on a dock with a fishing pole, knowing that sooner or later something will tug the line. Family life for a grey heron is quiet at first, but it is not without drama. These birds often gather in colonies, especially when nesting, and the trees can fill with croaks, wingbeats, and clattering bills. The nests are built high up, out of reach of many ground dangers, using sticks and whatever nesting material is close by. Both parents help raise the young, bringing back food again and again. The chicks are noisy little bundles of appetite, always demanding more. When food arrives, there is a scramble, and the strongest chicks often get the biggest share. It is a tough start, but that is how many wild families work. Even in the wetlands, life can be competitive. The adults call to one another with harsh, raspy sounds, and those calls help keep the colony connected. It may look peaceful from a distance, but there's always some business going on in the reeds. This bird matters because wetlands matter, and wetlands feed a great many lives. Grey herons help keep fish and other small animals in balance, and they are part of the chain that ties water, land, and sky together. When marshes stay healthy, these birds do well too. And when herons are thriving, that is often a good sign that the wetland itself is still alive and working as it should. In a world where water can be so hard to find, That is no small thing. So the next time you see a tall grey figure standing in the shallows, think of all the patience packed into those long legs. In a wild place, stillness can be its own kind of power. Have you ever wondered how a place can feel so full of life and so full of danger at the same time? In the African night, one sound can ripple across the dark like a warning bell. It starts low, then rises into a wild laugh that seems to come from everywhere at once. Soon the shadows move. Spotted hyenas slip through the grass with steady purpose, their eyes glowing in the moonlight. They are common across much of Africa, and they live in groups called clans. One thing makes them stand out right away. They are not just scavengers picking at leftovers. They are bold, smart hunters too. These are the night runners of the plains, and they know how to make the most of every meal. A spotted hyena has a thick, sloping body, a broad head, and front legs that look taller than the back ones, like the animal is always leaning into a hard wind. Its coat is sandy grey with dark spots, and no two animals wear the same pattern. That spotted fur helps break up its shape in tall grass and broken light. The head is the part you notice next. It is huge and powerful, built around jaws that can crush bones like old dry sticks. Those jaws are made for work. Nothing goes to waste when a hyena gets hold of a carcass. Even the hard parts, the bits many animals cannot use, become part of the meal. And yet, for all that power, there is something almost playful in the way hyenas move. They trot, lope, and circle with restless energy, ears flicking, noses always working. They look as if they are in a hurry, even when they are not. That restless body hides an animal built for endurance. A hyena can keep going when others grow tired. It can follow a wounded animal for a long time, waiting for weakness to do the hard work. In the heat of the day, it may rest in the shade with the clan, but once the air cools, the real business begins. Then they set out across the plains, nose to ground, reading every smell like a story. They eat meat, yes, but they also make full use of carcasses left behind by lions, crocodiles, and the long hunger of the dry land. They are nature's cleanup crew, in the roughest sense, turning what is left over into new life for the scavengers, the insects, and the soil itself. That matters more than many people first realize. Without hyenas, the plains would be messier, and more food would sit unused, while the sun and flies went to work. But hyenas do more than clean up. They help keep the balance in check by hunting sick, weak, and injured animals, which can strengthen the herds over time. And in their own clan world, the rules are strict. Females lead, and they stay in charge. They raise cubs in underground dens, often in messy family groups, where young ones tumble, nip, and test each other from the start. They call to one another with whoops, giggles, and long rolling sounds that carry far over the grass. So the next time you hear that strange, laughing cry in your mind, remember what is really out there. It is not a clown of the savannah. It is a survivor, a hunter, and one of the hardest working animals on the plains. Welcome to Etosha National Park in Namibia, where the land can feel almost otherworldly. Out here, a broad white salt pan stretches to the horizon, shining under a hard, bright sun. The air is dry and still, and every step seems to crunch with heat. In the dry season, the whole place tightens around a few precious water holes, and that is where life gathers. Zebra, wildebeest, black rhino, elephant, and ostrich all come to this rough country in search of relief. But when water is scarce, even the safest looking place can turn into a tense, waiting game. There is a kind of quiet awe that settles over the plains when a herd of Cape buffalo comes into view, not because they move fast, not because they are flashy. It is the sheer feeling of weight, of power, of old strength, walking through the grass. The dust lifts around their hooves. The air seems to hold its breath. Then you notice the horns, the dark eyes, the steady way they keep together, and you understand why so many hunters think twice. Cape buffalo live across much of sub-Saharan Africa, from open grasslands to swampy lowlands and river edges. They are one of the most powerful animals on the continent, and they earn that reputation every single day. At first glance, a buffalo may seem built like a rough-hewn boulder with legs, but look closer, and the details tell a different story. The coat is dark, often deep black or brown, and the hair is short and sleek, especially along the body. Older bulls can look worn and weathered, as if the years have carved them from smoke and stone. The head is heavy and broad, with a thick forehead that flows into the famous horns. Those horns sweep out and down, then curl upward at the tips, forming a kind of shield across the face in older adults. This boss of bone and horn is not just for show. It is a key part of defense, and in a close fight, it can turn the tide. Up close, the buffalo's build is all about strength. The shoulders are strong, the neck is thick, and the body is barrel-shaped, made for pushing through grass, brush, and danger. A grown bull can weigh far more than a small car. Yet for all that bulk, there is real speed in those heavy bodies when they need it. These are not sleepy giants. They are alert, stubborn, and ready to charge if pushed too far. Much of the day, Cape buffalo feed in groups, cropping down grasses with broad mouths and strong teeth. They often graze in the cool hours and rest when the sun climbs high. Water matters to them, so you will often find them near rivers, lakes, and marshy ground. They need to drink regularly, and they do best where fresh grass and water are close at hand. A buffalo herd is no loose crowd. It is a working unit. Adults keep close. Calves stay tucked near the center. When one animal lifts its head, the others often do too. Their ears flick, their tails swish, and their bodies shift as one. There is safety in numbers here, but there is also trust. A mother buffalo keeps a close watch on her calf, and the herd helps shield the young from danger. If a lion stalks nearby, the buffalo do not always bolt. Sometimes they stand their ground. Sometimes they face the threat together. That is part of what makes them so formidable. They are not just big, they are united. And in the wild, that can mean everything. Cape buffalo also play an important part in the land itself. By grazing, they help shape the grasslands, making room for new growth and keeping plant life in balance. They are also part of the food chain that supports lions, hyenas, and other scavengers when the old, weak, or injured are lost to the hard truth of survival. Even in death, nothing is wasted for long out here. In that way, the buffalo is both survivor and giver, a steady force in a world that never sits still. And when you see a whole herd moving through the morning light, you may feel it too. Not fear exactly, something deeper, respect. Because some animals do not need to be loud to be unforgettable. Sometimes power simply walks by. People sometimes think the cleanest thing in the wild is a sunrise over the grass. But out here, another kind of cleanup crew comes drifting in on wide black wings. The air buzzes with flies. The ground tells a story no one wants to read too closely. Then, almost without a sound, the sky fills with dark shapes circling overhead. These are vultures, and they arrive when the day's hard work is already done. Vultures live across much of Africa, including the Serengeti, where big predators leave behind what they cannot finish. What looks like a grim job is really one of nature's most important ones. Vultures are built for it. Their bald heads, broad wings, and sharp eyes make them perfect scavengers, always ready to turn death into another part of life's cycle. A vulture is not a hunter in the usual sense. It is a patient witness to the feast after the fight. Look closely, and you will see a bird that seems almost made for the business of leftovers. The head is bare of feathers, which may seem strange at first, but it is a smart design. When a bird digs into a carcass, a feathered face would quickly become messy. The bare skin stays cleaner. Their hooked beaks are strong and curved, made for tearing tough meat and pulling it apart. Their wings are long and wide, shaped for soaring more than flapping. That lets them ride the hot air above the plains with very little effort. It is a bit like a sailor using the wind instead of rowing every mile. Some vultures have pale feathers mixed with dark ones, while others wear earthy browns and whites that help them blend into the dry country below. Those long necks can bend and reach into places other birds cannot. Everything about them says efficiency. Nothing is wasted. Vultures spend much of their day soaring, scanning, and waiting. They can spot food from high above, especially when other scavengers or predators are already gathering. Often, one bird will notice the beginning of a meal, and soon others will join in. It is a simple system, but an effective one. They do not need to make the kill themselves. Instead, they depend on sharp eyes, patience, and an incredible sense of timing. In the heat of the afternoon, when the land shimmers and many animals are resting in the shade, vultures may still be riding the air currents in wide circles. When they land, they walk with a stiff, steady stride, as if they are in no hurry at all. But make no mistake, they are always alert. A carcass on the plains does more than feed vultures. It also keeps disease from spreading. By stripping away remains quickly, these birds help the land stay healthier for the many animals that share it. That makes them quiet guardians of the savannah, even if few people think of them that way. And they are in trouble in many places. Some vultures are threatened by poison, habitat loss, and the shrinking number of large wild animals they depend on. Protecting them means protecting the whole food web, from the biggest hunter to the smallest scavenger. If the plains are a great story, vultures are the final page that helps the whole tale make sense. They remind us that even what looks broken still has purpose. For a moment, the Serengeti looks almost ordinary. Then you hear it. Not the dry scrape of dust and grass, but the soft slosh of water shifting through reeds, the low croak of hidden frogs, and the thin whistle of birds moving overhead. In the rainy season, this part of the plains changes fast. Shallow pools spread out like spilled silver. Mud banks shine in the sun. Tall sedges sway in the wind, and the air feels cooler, damp, and alive. These wetlands are a lifeline for everything nearby. Herons stalk the shallows, hippos wallow in the deeper water, buffalo, zebras, wildebeest, and gazelles come here to drink, feed, and rest. It is a beautiful place, but it is also a place of waiting. In the wet grass and muddy edges, hunters and hunted often meet face to face. And if you would like to travel here with us, say hello in the comments. In the hush of the open plain, before the sun has fully climbed, you can hear the land more than you can see it. A light wind moves through the grass. A bird calls somewhere far off. And just beyond the edge of the shadows, a small shape watches, still as a stone. Then the moment shifts, and that quiet watcher comes alive. The black-backed jackal lives across much of eastern and southern Africa, including the Serengeti and dry grasslands where every meal matters. It may be small compared with lions and hyenas, but it is clever, quick, and always alert. This is a survivor that makes a living by keeping its eyes open and missing very little. If you look at it closely, the black-backed jackal seems built for a life on the move. It has a slim body, long legs, and a narrow face that gives it a sharp, fox-like look. Its coat is a mix of rusty gold and grey, with a dark stripe along the back that looks like a brushstroke painted down its spine. That dark stripe is where it gets its name. Its tail is bushy, almost like a bottle brush, and the tip is often darker too. Those ears are large and upright, always turning toward the faintest sound. Everything about this animal says, listen first, move fast. It is not a bulky animal. It is a light one, built for slipping through brush, trotting across dry ground, and changing direction in a flash. That small size is no accident. In a world filled with bigger hunters, being quick and flexible can matter just as much as strength. The black-backed jackal spends much of its day searching. It eats almost anything it can find. Small mammals, insects, birds, eggs, fruit, and scraps left behind by larger hunters all have a place on its menu. It is also known for taking advantage of opportunity. If a lion makes a kill and leaves a bit behind, the jackal may step in later. If a nest is left unguarded, it may investigate. If a young animal stumbles, the jackal notices. It does not waste energy chasing impossible meals. Instead, it reads the land and follows the signs of weakness, movement, and chance. That makes it one of the most adaptable hunters on the plains. It can hunt alone, but it often works in a pair, especially a mated pair that stays close through the year. These partners share territory and keep watch over it together. They raise their pups in a den, usually hidden in a burrow or tucked among rocks and thick grass. When the young are small, both adults help feed them. The pups stay hidden at first, then begin to emerge, tumbling after one another and learning the sounds of the world around them. Family life is serious for a jackal, but it is also full of teamwork. One adult may stay near the den, while the other searches for food. They use calls to stay in touch, including sharp yips and high, thin howls that can carry a long way over open ground. These sounds help them warn off rivals, call to a mate, and keep track of their young. And that family bond matters because jackal pups face plenty of danger. Eagles, hyenas, and even large cats can all be threats. In a landscape like this, safety is never guaranteed. That is why the black-backed jackal's watchfulness is so important. It helps clean up carcasses, control small prey numbers, and keep the scavenging cycle moving. Nothing here is wasted for long. The plains run on leftovers as much as on the chase, and the jackal is one of the animals that helps make that happen. It is not the loudest creature in the grass, and it is not the biggest, but it is one of the most tuned in. It notices what others overlook, and that is a powerful skill in the wild. And when the light fades and the shadows stretch long, the black-backed jackal is still there, moving carefully through the dusk, as if the whole plain were a story it has learned to read. The grass goes still for a moment, then it twitches. A rustle moves low through the green, so slight you might think it was only the wind. But the next second, a small, spotted shape lifts its head, ears pricked, eyes wide and bright in the morning light. Out here, in the open plains and wet edges of the Serengeti, even the smallest shadow can mean trouble. This is where patience, silence, and a pair of powerful ears can make all the difference. Meet the serval, a long-legged wild cat that lives in grasslands, marshes, and reed-filled country across much of sub-Saharan Africa. It may not be the biggest hunter on the plain, but it has one of the most impressive sets of tools in the wild. A serval's ears can catch the faintest squeak in the grass, and its jump can rise higher than you would expect from a cat this size. At first glance, the serval looks almost too delicate for such a rough world. But every inch of it is built for life among reeds, rodents, and sudden danger. Its legs are long and slim, like a runner's. Its coat is golden tan with bold black spots and stripes, a pattern that breaks up its shape in the grass. The ears are the real giveaway, though. They stand tall and wide, like two radar dishes turned toward the ground. Those ears help the serval listen for movement under the cover of thick vegetation. And when it spots a target, the whole body seems to gather itself into one tight spring. Its back legs are especially strong, made for launching upward in a flash. That leap is one of the serval's most famous skills. It can pounce straight down from the air onto a mouse, a bird, or even a frog hiding below. For a cat that weighs far less than a lion or leopard, it makes up for size with precision. The serval spends much of its day moving alone through tall grass, hunting mostly small animals. Mice, rats, shrews, birds, insects, frogs, and sometimes small reptiles all can end up on the menu. It does not usually waste energy chasing prey for long distances. Instead, it listens, freezes, and strikes fast. That style works well in wet grasslands, where food is often hidden just out of sight. The serval also likes places with water nearby, because those spots draw in the animals it hunts. After rain, when the land is alive with sound, the serval has a real advantage. A tiny squeak in the weeds may be enough to bring it into action. Then comes that sudden spring, quick as a jack-in-the-box. One moment, it is crouched low. The next, it is up and over the grass, coming down with sharp focus. Unlike lions, servals do not travel in prides or rely on a pack. They live mostly on their own and keep their own hunting grounds. Males and females may cross paths, but each cat is responsible for finding food and staying safe. When a female raises young, she does it alone, hiding the kittens in thick cover and moving them if danger comes close. The kittens are born helpless, with closed eyes and soft coats, and they stay tucked away for weeks before they are ready to follow their mother. As they grow, she teaches them the quiet art of survival, how to listen, how to wait, and how to pounce. The serval matters because it helps keep the numbers of small animals in balance. By hunting rodents and other little creatures, it plays a useful part in the health of grassland and wetland life. It is also a reminder that the wild is not only about the giants and the famous hunters. Sometimes the most remarkable animal is the one that works in silence, one careful step at a time. And when the grass moves just a little too neatly, you may be looking at a servant of the shadows, built for the hunt. Picture a creature so still, it could almost be a floating log, and yet everyone around the river treats it like bad weather, with teeth. The water looks calm, the mud looks soft, but under that surface, danger is lying in wait. One wrong move, one heavy splash, and the whole river can turn ugly in a heartbeat. That is where the Nile crocodile fits into this story. It lives across much of sub-Saharan Africa, along rivers, lakes, and marshes. And with its armored body and silent patience, it has become one of the most feared animals in the water. The Nile crocodile is the heavyweight ambush hunter of African rivers, built for waiting, watching, and striking when the moment is right. At first glance, it can seem almost lazy. But that calm hides a very sharp edge. Its body is made for a life spent half in water, half in the shadows. Long, low, and tough as old leather, it blends into muddy banks and floating reeds so well that even careful animals can miss it until it is too late. The back is covered in rough, bony plates that look like a suit of armor. Its tail is thick and powerful, like a giant paddle, and it can whip through the water with shocking force. The head is wide and flat, with eyes and nostrils set high on top, so it can watch the world while nearly all of its body stays hidden. And that mouth, well, it is built like a trap. Rows of sharp teeth line the jaw, and when those jaws shut, they shut with frightening strength. It does not need to chase across open ground like a lion. It waits, it saves energy. It lets the river bring the meal to it. During the day, a Nile crocodile often basks in the sun, motionless on a bank or partly buried in mud. That warmth helps it stay ready, because these animals use the sun to power their slow, heavy bodies. When it gets too hot, it slips back into the water, where it can drift almost like a shadow. Most of the time, it is not in a hurry. That is part of its success. A crocodile can go a long time between big meals, so it does not waste effort. It is patient enough to let a thirsty herd come to the river. Then, when a wildebeest lowers its head or a zebra slips into a deep patch of water, the crocodile can explode forward in a flash. The attack is fast and sudden. It grabs, twists, and disappears beneath the surface again. Not every hunt works, of course, but the crocodile only needs one good chance to make a very large meal. Young crocs start out small, hunting insects, frogs, and tiny fish before growing into river monsters over many years. As they get bigger, they can take on larger prey, including fish, birds, antelope, and the animals that risk crossing wide African rivers during the migration. Family life for a Nile crocodile starts with a lot more care than many people expect. The female builds a nest from grass and soil and lays her eggs there, often in a warm, hidden spot near the water. She guards that nest closely. When the eggs are ready to hatch, the babies begin to make faint sounds from inside the shells, and the mother helps open the nest. She may even carry the tiny hatchlings gently in her mouth down to the water. It sounds rough, but it is careful work. Once in the water, the young stay close to shelter. They are easy targets for fish, birds, and larger crocs, so they need all the protection they can get. The mother may guard them for a while, but the river is a dangerous place, and survival is never simple. That is why crocodiles are so important to this world. They help keep river life balanced by taking weaker or unlucky animals, which can help prevent too many from crowding one place. They are also part of a much older African story, one that has played out beside rivers for millions of years. Without them, the crossing would be different. The pressure would be different. The whole rhythm of the water would change. And then there is the moment when the river fills with panic. The sun is dropping low. The water is darkening. Hooves pound the bank. One wildebeest after another throws itself forward. Zebras follow, churning the water white. Fish scatter. Birds cry out overhead. Then comes the stillness below the surface. You cannot see them at first. Just a shape, a ridge, a pair of eyes, then a splash. The river erupts. A crocodile has launched, and now everything turns wild. Bodies press forward. Others try to turn back. But there is no turning back once the crossing has begun. The current pulls. The animals shove. A zebra stumbles, rights itself, and kicks hard for the far bank. Another animal vanishes in a swirl of mud. The water boils with movement. It is chaos, loud and raw, and full of fear. And yet, in the middle of all that struggle, the river keeps doing what rivers do. It carries life. It tests life. It demands respect. The dry grass whispers first, then the soft clatter of hooves and the low snort of a nervous mother. Warm dust lifts into the air, carrying that sharp, earthy smell of sun-baked earth and trampled stems. Somewhere nearby, a bird cries out, and the whole herd seems to tighten at once. Out here, in the open plains, every sound matters. Every shadow matters too. This is the world of the zebra, one of the most familiar faces on the African grasslands, and one of the most important. It lives in big herds, moves with the seasons, and survives by staying alert. At a glance, it seems almost painted by hand. But there is much more to it than stripes. Zebras are built for long marches, quick escapes, and family life on the run. And in a land where lions wait in the grass, that can make all the difference. Zebras wear one of nature's most famous coats. Those black and white stripes are bold, clean, and impossible to forget. Up close, the pattern is not random at all. Each animal has its own version, like a fingerprint made of brush strokes. Their bodies are sturdy and muscular, with strong legs and hard hooves that can carry them for miles. A zebra is not small, but it does not look heavy either. It has the shape of an athlete built for speed and stamina. The mane stands up along the neck like a row of short bristles, and the tail flicks back and forth like a switch, always ready to brush away flies. Their eyes are large and alert. Their ears turn easily, catching every rustle in the grass. Even in a crowded herd, you can almost feel how tuned in they are to the world around them. Those stripes may look striking to us, but in the wild, they are part of the zebra's whole life story. Zebras spend most of their days on the move, eating grass, scanning the horizon, and keeping close to the herd. They are grazing animals, and they can handle tougher, taller grass than some of the other travelers on the plains. That makes them a kind of first sweep across the land. Where zebras feed, they help trim the grass and open the way for the animals that follow behind. They are not picky eaters, but they are careful ones. While they chew, they keep lifting their heads to look around. One ear may point forward, another may swivel back. It is a constant check on the world. If danger appears, the herd can move quickly, all at once, like a single body made of many legs. Their strength is not in fighting, it is in noticing first and moving fast. And when the heat rises, zebras still keep going. They travel in long lines, often near wildebeest, with each animal helping to watch for trouble. Family is at the center of zebra life. A mother and foal stay close, and the young learn fast by following her every step. The first days are a race against time. A newborn zebra can stand soon after birth, and before long, it is learning to keep pace with the herd. A mother licks her foal to clean it and help it remember her scent. That bond matters. In a crowded herd, with bodies shifting and tails flicking and dust swirling all around, scent helps a mother and baby stay connected. Zebras also talk to one another with body language, ear position, and sharp sounds that carry across the grass. Their lives are social, and that is no accident. A lone zebra is more exposed. A herd has more eyes, more ears, and more chances to notice danger. Even the stripes may help by making it harder for a predator to single out one animal when the group is moving. Life on the plains can be rough, but zebras do not face it alone. In the great sweep of the Serengeti, zebras matter more than many people realize. They help shape the grassland simply by grazing and moving in great numbers. That feeding pattern supports other animals that come behind them. Their travels also help spread life across the plains, one step at a time. And of course, they are part of the food chain that keeps the whole place in balance. Lions, leopards, and hyenas all know where to look when zebra herds are nearby. It is a hard truth, but it is also part of what keeps this wild world working. The zebra is not just a survivor. It is a guide, a witness, and a steady part of the rhythm of the plains. And when you watch one stand in the wind, ears up and eyes bright, it is hard not to feel a quiet respect. A zebra may look like a simple pattern from a distance. But up close, it is a life built on vigilance, family, and the will to keep moving, no matter what the grassland throws its way. If the Serengeti is a crowded street at rush hour, then the Kalahari is the opposite, a place where the traffic is mostly wind, and even that seems to be in no hurry. The sand stretches wide and pale under a hard blue sky, with low shrubs, thorny bushes, and dry grass scattered like loose scraps on a table. Some days the heat presses down like a heavy blanket. Other days the air is cool and still, and the silence feels almost bigger than the land itself. But this desert is far from empty. Meerkats stand watch from sandy mounds, servals slip through the grass, black-backed jackals patrol the open ground, cheetahs use the space to run, and vultures circle high above, waiting for whatever the wild leaves behind. In the still heat of Etosha National Park, there is a kind of quiet that almost feels sacred. The white salt pan shimmers, the wind slides low over the ground, and somewhere out in that harsh, open country, a heavy shape moves with surprising patience. It may not look graceful at first glance, but there is power in every step and caution in every pause. This is the black rhinoceros, one of Africa's most impressive animals, built for a land where water is precious and danger can appear fast. It lives in dry bush country and open woodland, where thorny plants and scattered shade offer just enough cover. What stands out most is that bold horn and the tough little upper lip that helps it feed on leaves and twigs. A black rhino can seem almost like a living tank, but its daily life is really about careful choices and steady survival. The black rhino has a thick gray body that can pick up the color of dust and mud, turning earthy brown after a good wallow. That muddy coating is more than a bath. It helps protect the skin from sun and insects, like a natural layer of armor. Up close, the animal looks rough and ancient, with deep folds in its skin and a face that seems carved from stone. But there is also a strange delicacy to it. Its upper lip is pointed and flexible, almost like a finger, and it uses that tool to grab leaves from bushes and small trees. That matters, because the black rhino is a browser, not a grass eater. It spends much of its day moving from plant to plant, taking careful bites from branches, shoots, and tender growth. It does not need to stand at water all the time, because it can get much of what it needs from the plants it eats. Still, when it does find mud or a good water source, it makes the most of it. In a dry place like this, every green mouthful counts. Black rhinos are often alone, and that suits them. They are not the kind of animal that needs a crowd to feel safe. Most of the time, they travel by themselves, choosing their own path through thorn scrub and dusty open ground. That said, they are not mindless loners. Mothers stay close to their calves for a long time, teaching them where to feed and where to avoid trouble. A young rhino follows its mother like a shadow, learning the land piece by piece. These animals also communicate in quiet ways. They leave scent marks, use sounds, and follow familiar routes through their home area. Even when they seem silent, they are always reading the world around them. This is a creature that survives by knowing when to move, when to stop, and when to turn aside. In the dry season, that skill can mean everything. The black rhino matters because it helps shape the bush it lives in. As it feeds, it trims shrubs and opens up patches of vegetation, which can help other plants grow and make paths for smaller animals. In that way, it is part of the larger rhythm of the land, not separate from it. Sadly, black rhinos have faced serious trouble from poaching and habitat loss, and many populations have dropped hard over the years. But there is hope in the work being done to protect them. Rangers, reserves, and conservation teams are helping keep these animals safe. Seeing a black rhino in the wild still feels like seeing a piece of deep time walk past. It reminds us that even in the toughest places, life can endure with strength and dignity. The water goes still for a moment, like the whole river is holding its breath. Then comes a low grunt from the dark edge of the pool, and the surface breaks with a ripple broad enough to shake the reeds. Out here, even the quiet feels heavy. You can almost feel the heat rising off the mud, smell the wet earth, and hear the steady snort of something huge just below the waterline. That is when the hippo appears. Hippos live in rivers, lakes, and pools across sub-Saharan Africa, and they spend much of the day half hidden in the water. They may look slow and sleepy, but they are full of surprises. A hippo can weigh as much as a small truck, yet it can move with sudden force when it needs to. Up close, a hippo looks like a tank built for the water. The body is round and heavy, but the head is enormous, almost too big for the neck that carries it. The skin is thick and smooth, usually gray or brown, often shiny from a coat of water and mud. The eyes, ears, and nostrils sit high on the head, which lets the animal stay mostly submerged while still watching, breathing, and listening. It is a clever design for a life spent in rivers. When the sun is high, hippos rest in cool water to keep from overheating. They can hold their breath for several minutes and often sink almost completely under, with only a little part of the face showing above the surface. At night, they leave the water and head onto land to graze. They eat grass, and lots of it. A hippo may walk miles under the moonlight, following familiar trails to feeding grounds and then returning to the same water by morning. That routine gives them a rhythm to life. Water by day, grass by night. It is simple, but it works. Hippos are not graceful swimmers like fish, even though they spend so much time in the water. They do not truly float the way we might imagine. Instead, they push and glide along the bottom or move through shallow water with surprising speed. On land, they are even less at ease. Their short legs and heavy bodies look almost awkward beside the elegance of antelope or zebra. But do not let that fool you. Hippos are strong, and they can be dangerous when they feel crowded or threatened. Their wide mouths open far enough to show huge, tusk-like teeth, and those teeth are used more for fighting and display than for eating. Much of the time, though, a hippo's world is one of waiting, listening, and conserving energy. In the heat of the day, a whole pod may crowd together in a river bend, with calves tucked safely between adults. Mothers are protective, and the young stay close to the group. They learn early that safety comes from staying near the water and near one another. Hippos communicate with grunts, snorts, and even underwater sounds that carry through the river like distant rumbles. It is a busy social world, even when they seem still. And that stillness matters. Hippos help shape the waterways they live in by moving between water and land every day. Their grazing paths open routes through grass, and their bodies churn up shallow pools, keeping the riverbanks changing and alive. They are part of the great daily work of the wetland, and without them, the scene would feel very different. So when you see a hippo resting like a boulder in the sun, remember that this calm giant is part of a much larger story. In the wild, even the quietest moments are full of life, and sometimes the most powerful animal in the water is the one barely moving at all. Have you ever watched a whole crowd move as one, like a river with legs? That is the feeling the plains give you when the wildebeest arrive. The dust rises, the grass bends, and the air seems to hum with nervous energy. One wrong step can mean trouble, and every sound matters. These animals may not look polished or graceful at first glance, but they are built for a hard life on the move. A wildebeest lives across the great grasslands of East Africa, especially in places like the Serengeti and the Mara. Its life is tied to rain, grass, and survival by the day. And once you meet it, you start to see why it is one of the wild's great travelers. A wildebeest stands like a bundle of muscle and motion. The front end seems heavy and powerful, while the back legs look made for sudden action, like the parts of two different animals joined together. Its head is broad, with a face that can seem almost shaggy and serious at the same time. Dark hair hangs along the neck and chin, giving it a rough, weathered look. The coat is usually gray-brown, but in certain light, it can take on a bluish tone, which is where the name blue wildebeest comes from. The horns curve outward and then hook up in a shape that feels both sturdy and a little wild. Nothing about this animal is delicate. Even the tail, thin and switch-like, seems made for constant motion. But that plain, rugged build is part of the secret. It is a body made for long miles, quick decisions, and life in a crowd. The days of a wildebeest are ruled by grass and water. These animals spend much of their time grazing, moving from one feeding place to another as the seasons change. They are not picky eaters, but they do depend on fresh grass, especially the short, green growth that follows the rains. That is why the Great Migration matters so much. When the plains turn rich and green, the herds spread out and feed. When the land dries, they gather again and move on. It is a giant search for food that never really ends. And it is not just about eating. It is about timing. Too early, and the grass is not ready. Too late, and the land starts to dry out. Wildebeest have to keep moving, sometimes in huge columns that stretch farther than the eye can see. They travel with zebra, which often lead the way and help spot danger. In that crowd, every animal has a role. The herd is the safety net. One animal alone is exposed. A group of them has a better chance. Family life in wildebeest herds is busy and fast-paced, especially during calving season. The mothers give birth in a short burst of time, so there are many newborns all at once. That means predators are never far behind. A calf has to get on its feet quickly and fast. There is no long waiting around. Within minutes, it must be ready to move with its mother and the herd. Mothers are alert and protective, and they stay close to their young when they can. The herd itself also helps. There is safety in numbers, and danger has a harder time picking out one baby from a moving wall of bodies. Adult males can become restless and pushy when it is time to compete for females. You may see them snorting, stamping, and clashing horns in the open, all part of a rough kind of courtship. It can look noisy and chaotic, but it is part of how new life continues on these plains. Wildebeest matter in a big way because they help shape the whole grassland. They eat grass, they move seeds, and they feed many other animals through the chain of life. Lions, hyenas, crocodiles, and other hunters all depend on them at different times of year. When wildebeest are healthy and moving with the rains, the whole system stays in balance. Their journey is one of the great natural events on Earth, and it reminds us that survival here is never a solo act. It is a shared story, written in dust, rain, and hoof prints. Watch them long enough, and you realize they are not just running from danger. They are following life itself. You might expect the cat with the loudest reputation to be the one that rules these plains, but the one that often moves the surest is the one you never notice at all, a flick of an ear. a patch of shadow beneath a thorn tree. Then, just as quickly, it is gone. That quiet skill makes the leopard one of the most mysterious hunters in Africa. Leopards live across much of the Serengeti and other wild places, and they are built for a life spent mostly alone. What they lack in showiness, they make up for with patience, strength, and a gift for slipping through the world like smoke. Look closely, and you will find a body made for climbing, crouching, and sudden action. Its coat is a work of art, but it is also a perfect disguise. A leopard wears the bush like a cloak. The rosettes on its fur break up its shape in the grass and the trees like sunlight scattered across leaves. Its body is all smooth power. The shoulders are muscular. The legs are strong and springy. The tail is long and balanced, helping it turn and leap with ease. Even the head has a watchful look, with amber eyes that seem to miss very little. This cat is smaller than a lion, but do not let that fool you. It carries itself with the calm of an animal that knows exactly what it can do. And that is often the real secret of the leopard. It does not need to be the biggest hunter on the plains. It only needs the right moment. Much of its day is spent resting, watching, and waiting. Leopards save energy whenever they can, because every chase matters. They move mostly at night or in the cool hours of morning and evening, when the heat is easier to bear and prey animals are less alert. During the day, they may lie stretched on a branch or hidden in thick brush, almost invisible unless you know where to look. When it hunts, the leopard relies on surprise. It creeps close, then bursts forward in a short, powerful rush. It can take down animals such as impala, young zebra, or warthogs, and it may also steal food when the chance appears. This cat is smart about risk. It does not waste its energy on a long chase across open ground. It waits for a mistake, a gap in the herd, a moment of bad luck. Then it strikes. After a kill, the work is not over. A leopard will often drag its meal up into a tree, away from hyenas and other thieves. That is no small feat. It can carry a heavy carcass into the branches, climbing with both strength and careful balance. In that high place, the meal is safer, and the leopard can feed in peace. Family life for a leopard is a careful balancing act, because this is a mostly solitary animal. Males and females usually live apart, meeting only to mate. After that, the mother raises the cubs on her own. She hides them in thick grass, rocky outcrops, or a safe thicket, keeping them tucked away like a secret. The cubs are born blind and helpless, and for the first weeks of life, they depend completely on her. She moves them often, because danger can come from all directions. A young leopard must learn quickly. It must climb, stalk, and stay quiet. The mother teaches by example, and the lessons begin early. As the cubs grow, she brings them small prey and shows them how to hunt. It can take many months before they are ready to live on their own. Even then, the young often stay near their mother for a while, learning the ways of the land. This is a hard life, but a beautiful one too, because so much depends on skill, memory, and patience. Leopards matter because they help keep the plains in balance. By hunting the weak, the young, or the careless, they help shape the health of the herds. They also clean up what is left behind, since they will not turn down a meal if the chance comes. And because they are so shy and wide-ranging, their presence tells us something important about the land itself. When leopards still move through a place, it means there is enough cover, enough prey, and enough wild space for them to survive. That is worth protecting. In a land full of noise and pressure, the leopard reminds us that quiet strength can be just as powerful. Sometimes the most remarkable thing in the wild is the animal you almost never see. The first warning is not a sight at all. It is a deep rumble in the ground, so low you feel it more than hear it. Then comes the smell of dust, crushed grass, and that warm, wild animal scent that hangs in the air around a herd. Out of the heat shimmer, something enormous begins to move. Not fast, not hurried, just certain. In the dry country, where every drop of water matters, the biggest traveler on the plains steps into view. The African elephant lives across much of sub-Saharan Africa, and it is the largest land animal on Earth. What makes it so striking is not just its size, but the calm power in the way it moves, as if the whole landscape has to make room for it. An adult can weigh as much as several pickup trucks. Its body is covered in wrinkled gray skin, its ears spread wide like living fans, and its trunk works like a hand, a nose, and a straw all at once. Those ears do more than help it hear. They also help cool its body in the hot sun. And that trunk, it can lift a branch, smell water from far away, and gently touch a calf. In many ways, the elephant looks like a walking memory of the land itself. These giants spend their days searching for food and water, and they need a lot of both. They eat grasses, leaves, bark, roots, and fruit, and they can spend most of the day feeding. A single elephant may eat hundreds of pounds of plants in one day, moving slowly from one patch to the next. But this is not mindless grazing. Every step matters. Elephants help shape the world around them as they go. They break branches, clear paths, and open up thick brush so smaller animals can move through. They also spread seeds in their droppings, helping new plants grow in places they never could have reached on their own. In that way, the elephant is like a giant gardener, even while it is simply trying to make it through the day. Family is everything to an elephant. Herds are led by an older female called the matriarch, and she is more than a leader. She is the one who remembers where the water lies after months of dry weather, where the safest routes run, and where trouble has come before. Younger females and calves stay close, touching one another with trunks, rumbles, and soft body language that says more than words ever could. If danger comes near, the adults close ranks around the young. They do not panic first. They stand together first. That wall of bodies can make even a proud lion think twice. It is one of the most moving sights in Africa because it shows that strength is not only about size, it is also about loyalty, patience, and knowing who needs protection. And that is why elephants matter so much. They are not just survivors, they are builders of the plains. Their paths become roads for other animals. Their feeding opens new growth. Their movement keeps the land changing and alive. When elephants are safe, the whole country of the wild feels that safety too. Watch them closely, and you will see that power does not always rush. Sometimes it walks slowly, with wisdom, beside its young. Something odd happens out here in the dry land. A bird so tall it can look a person in the eye, yet it cannot fly at all. Instead, it runs like the wind and fights with a kick that can stop even a hungry lion in its tracks. In the open plains of Namibia, that is no small thing. Here, every step matters, and every pair of sharp eyes can mean the difference between life and death. This is the ostrich, the largest bird on Earth, and one of the most hard-to-miss animals in the African wild. It lives across open savannas and dry country, where there is room to run and danger can come from far away. What makes it so impressive is how it has turned size into speed, and speed into safety. Its body looks built for one purpose: to survive in a place with very little mercy. At first glance, the ostrich seems almost comical, with long legs, a bare neck, and a head that bobs like a periscope above the grass. But there is nothing silly about how it lives. The ostrich is a towering bird with a long, bare neck and a rounded body covered in soft feathers that often look black and white in males. Females are more muted in color, with sandy brown feathers that blend into the land. Their eyes are huge, bigger than their brains, and that gives them some of the best long-distance vision in the animal kingdom. On a clear day, they can spot trouble from far across the plain. Their legs are like springs, long and lean, made for running. Each foot has just 2 toes, which helps them move fast over open ground. And those legs are not only for running, they are weapons too. One powerful kick can bruise, break, or drive off a predator that gets too close. Ostriches spend much of the day walking and foraging. They eat seeds, leaves, fruits, flowers, and insects, picking food from the ground with a simple, no-nonsense way of life. They do not chew like we do. Instead, they swallow small stones that help grind food inside the stomach, almost like a natural kitchen mixer. In dry country, that matters. Food can be scarce, and water may be far away. Ostriches can go a surprising time without drinking by getting moisture from the plants they eat. They are also smart about when to move. The hottest part of the day can be brutal, so they often keep to the more comfortable hours, wandering the plains with that steady, rolling gait that seems slow until suddenly it is not. Then they are off, long legs opening up, covering ground with startling speed. When danger appears, the ostrich does not waste time. It lifts that head high, locks onto the threat, and decides in an instant whether to run or fight. Family life for ostriches is just as fascinating. They often gather in groups, which gives many eyes and ears a better chance of spotting danger. That is important in a land where lions, hyenas, cheetahs, and jackals are always watching. During breeding season, males put on a show that is hard to forget. They spread their wings, sway their necks, and dance across the open ground to win a mate. One male may have several females in a kind of shared nesting arrangement, and the work of raising young becomes a team effort. The main female lays her eggs in a shallow nest scraped into the earth, often with several other females adding eggs to the same place. The dominant female and the main male usually take turns keeping the eggs warm. That nest can hold a lot of life in one spot, so guarding it is serious business. Once the chicks hatch, they are ready to move quickly. Tiny fluff balls with a will to live and legs that already know the meaning of hurry. An ostrich may seem like a strange bird to meet in a lion country, but it plays an important part here. It helps spread seeds as it moves, and it eats insects along with plant matter, which helps keep the balance in the grassland. It also serves as a reminder that survival in the wild is not only about strength. Sometimes it is about seeing danger first, moving fast, and knowing when to stand your ground. The ostrich turns the open plain into its own kind of advantage. In a world full of hunters, that is no small gift. And out there, under the wide African sky, this giant bird proves that flight is not the only way to stay free. Have you ever watched a tiny animal stand guard in a world full of bigger, hungrier neighbors? Out here in the Kalahari, that little lookout can seem almost out of place. The morning air is dry and cool, The sand is pale, and the bushes look low enough to hide a secret. Then a sharp chirp breaks the quiet, and the whole family snaps to attention. Meerkats live in the Kalahari Desert and nearby dry places across southern Africa. They are famous for their teamwork, their quick ears, and the way they take turns watching for danger while the others go about their day. At first glance, they may look small and unimportant, but in this harsh land, that would be a big mistake. Meerkats are built for life in the open. Their slender bodies and long tails help them balance, while their dark eye patches cut down the sun's glare like little sunglasses. They are only about a foot tall, but they stand upright on strong back legs with a posture that makes them look almost human. Their fur is sandy brown with darker bands across the back, which helps them blend in with the dry ground and scrub. When they pop up from a burrow, they seem to appear out of nowhere. That burrow is their home base, their shelter, and their safe place when the heat rises or danger comes close. Their claws are made for digging, and they work like small garden tools, tossing sand aside fast enough to build and repair tunnels. Those underground homes can have many entrances and twisting passages, offering the family a cool place to sleep and a quick escape route if a hawk, jackal, or snake shows up. Meerkats spend much of the day searching for food. They eat insects, beetles, spiders, scorpions, small lizards, eggs, and sometimes roots or fruit when they can find them. They are not picky, and in the desert that helps. One meerkat may crouch low and sniff the ground, then suddenly dart forward and dig with quick little strokes until something tasty is uncovered. Another may stand tall on a mound, scanning the sky and the horizon, ready to give an alarm call if trouble appears. That constant watchfulness is one of the most impressive things about them. A meerkat group is a real family, often made up of parents, older youngsters, and helpers that all pitch in. The adults do not simply leave the young ones on their own. Babysitting is shared, feeding is shared, guard duty is shared. Young meerkats learn by watching the older ones, and they practice digging, foraging, and standing sentry while still under the care of the group. They talk to one another with a wide range of sounds, from soft purrs and chirps to sharp warning barks. It is a busy little community, always working together. And that teamwork matters because the desert can turn harsh in a hurry. The sun bakes the ground by midday, food can be scattered and hard to find, and predators are always nearby. Meerkats help keep insect numbers in check, and they also help the land in small but important ways by digging and turning over the soil. In a place where so much life depends on caution and cooperation, these little sentinels have found a way to thrive, and maybe that is the wonder of them. In a land that looks empty at first glance, they remind us that even the smallest lives can be full of courage. Here's a surprising fact. A Thompson's gazelle can run faster than a lion can sprint. That sounds like it should be a sure win, doesn't it? But out here on the open Serengeti, speed by itself is not always enough. One wrong step, one moment of doubt, and the chase can turn in an instant. These little antelopes live in the short grass plains of East Africa, where every breeze seems to carry a warning. They are one of the most graceful sights on the savannah, light on their feet and built for escape. Watch one closely, and you can see how every part of its body seems made for survival. Thompson's gazelles live in the Serengeti and nearby grasslands, often in small groups where many eyes are better than one. Their black side stripe and bright white rump make them easy to spot, even from far away. At first glance, they look delicate, but that impression does not last long. Their bodies are lean, their legs are long, and their movements are quick and springy, almost like a dancer changing direction on the fly. They do not waste energy. Everything about them is trimmed down for life in the open. Their coat is a warm tan above and pale below, which helps them blend into dry grass and dusty light. Then there is that famous black stripe down the side, like a bold brush mark across a neat little frame. Their horns, when present, are short and gently curved, enough to give them a sharp look without adding bulk. A gazelle's eyes are large and alert, always scanning. Its ears turn and twitch at the slightest sound. Even its slim build tells a story. This is an animal that must notice danger early and leave fast. When it starts running, the body seems to turn into motion itself, and that speed matters every single day. Thompson's gazelles spend much of their time grazing on short, fresh grass, especially after the rains, when the plains open up and new growth appears. They are picky in a practical way. They go for the tender shoots that are easy to chew and full of nutrients. That is one reason they often follow behind larger grazers like zebras and wildebeest, who trim the grass and leave behind the best bites. Life for a gazelle is a constant balance between eating and staying alert. They nibble, lift their heads, listen, and nibble again. They do not have the luxury of getting lost in a meal. Every few moments, one of them pauses to check the horizon. If something seems off, the whole group can explode into motion. Their jumping style is famous too. They can spring high into the air in a behavior people sometimes call stotting, with stiff legs and a burst of energy that seems almost playful. But it is not play, it is a message. It says, "I see you. I am ready. Catch me if you can." That message can confuse or discourage a predator, and sometimes it buys just enough time for the gazelle to get away. Family life in a gazelle herd is built around caution and quick decisions. They usually move in groups, sometimes small, sometimes larger, depending on food and safety. There is comfort in numbers. More eyes mean more warning. More bodies mean a better chance that one animal will notice danger before the others do. Mothers keep a close watch on their young, and calves learn fast. They need to. In a world like this, the young cannot afford to be helpless for long. Soon after birth, they are already on their feet and moving with the herd. The bond between mother and calf is strong, but it is never relaxed for long. Even a quiet moment can turn tense if a lioness is hidden in the grass nearby. Gazelles also use body language to keep the group together. A sudden leap, a snort, a change in direction. All of it can pass like a signal through the herd. Why do they matter so much? Because the savanna depends on these smaller grazers just as much as it depends on the big ones. They help shape the grassland, and they also feed many hungry hunters, from lions to cheetahs and jackals. Without gazelles, the balance of the plain would shift. Their presence tells us that the grass is healthy, the water is returning, and the open country still has room for wildlife. They are small, yes, but they are far from unimportant. In fact, they are one of the living pulses of the Serengeti, and that is the beauty of them. So much life packed into such a light, quick frame, so much grace in a world built on speed. And when a gazelle flashes across the plain, it feels a little like watching hope outrun fear. You might not expect a pig with a helmet of warts and a face full of tusks to be one of the toughest survivors on the plains. But out here, toughness matters more than beauty. In the dry grass and thorny scrub of Africa, the warthog keeps moving, keeps digging, and keeps outlasting the heat. It lives in open country where danger can appear from almost anywhere, and one thing stands out right away. It never seems to panic for long. With every trot, every snort, and every scramble into a burrow, it reminds us that survival is not always graceful. Sometimes it is quick, stubborn, and a little bit scrappy. Warthogs live across much of sub-Saharan Africa, and they are built for a life that can turn rough in a hurry. They are famous for their tusks, their speed, and their habit of backing into their burrows so they can bolt out fast if trouble shows up behind them. At first glance, a warthog may look comical, almost like a character from a storybook. But spend a little time with one, and you see the real thing. A sturdy body, long legs made for running, a face that looks armored and alert. Those tusks are not decoration. They are tools and weapons, curved reminders that this animal is not easy to push around. The wart-like bumps on the face help protect it during fights, and the thick skin gives it a bit of extra defense in a world full of sharp teeth and hard knocks. Even the tail tells a story. When a warthog runs, that tail sticks straight up like a little flag, and the whole animal seems to vanish and reappear in the grass. Warthogs spend much of the day feeding on grasses, roots, berries, and fallen fruit. They kneel on their front legs while grazing, which is why their elbows often get dusty and worn. They are not picky eaters, and that helps them get through dry spells when food is harder to find. They also love mud. A good wallow cools the body, coats the skin, and helps keep biting insects at bay. In the heat of the day, they often rest in burrows, sometimes using old aardvark holes rather than digging their own. These burrows are more than shelters. They are safe places to hide from lions, hyenas, leopards, and other hunters that patrol the grasslands. Warthogs are often seen alone or in small family groups. A mother stays close to her young, and the little ones learn fast. When danger comes, there is no long debate. They sprint for cover, often with surprising speed, and they can turn a burrow into a tiny fortress in seconds. Family life is all about timing, caution, and knowing when to stay still. The mother keeps her piglets close, and they follow her through the open country, learning where to feed and where to vanish. Warthogs can be noisy too, using grunts and snorts to warn each other or keep contact in the grass. Their little world may seem rough and simple, but it is built on memory and instinct. A safe burrow, a patch of fresh grass, a muddy pool. These small things can mean the difference between making it through the day or becoming someone else's meal. And that is why the warthog matters. It helps trim the grass, turn the soil, and spread seeds as it moves. It is part of the plains' daily work, helping keep the land alive in quiet ways. There is something wonderful about a creature that can look so plain and live so cleverly. Out here, the warthog is proof that survival often belongs to the ones who know how to duck, dash, and endure. The grass goes still, not all at once, but in little patches, as if the plain itself is holding its breath. Then comes the low rumble of warning, the thud of hooves, the flick of tails, and out of the green haze, a tawny shape moves with purpose. In the Serengeti, hunger does not whisper for long. It arrives fast, and it arrives close. This is the lion, the ruler of the pride, and one of the most feared hunters in Africa. Lions live across the open plains and woodlands where cover is thin, and every stalk of grass can become a hiding place. What makes them so famous is not just their strength, but the way they turn patience into power. A lion can sit almost motionless, watching, waiting, and then explode into action in a heartbeat. If you have ever seen a storm roll across a field, you know the feeling. Quiet first, then all at once, the whole world changes. A lion's body is built for that change. Thick shoulders, heavy muscles, and a broad head give it that deep, solid look of something made to push through trouble. The coat is a warm gold, the color of dry grass in late sun, which helps it vanish into the land when it lies low. The mane of a male is impossible to miss. It frames the face like a dark collar and makes him look larger than life. But it is not just decoration. It also tells other lions something about his strength and age. Under that mane is a powerful animal, but also one that can overheat easily. That is one reason males often leave the longer chases to the lionesses. The females are the true workhorses of the pride. They are lighter, quicker, and better suited to slip through grass and bring down prey together. A pride is usually made up of related females, their cubs, and a few males who defend the group. The lionesses do most of the hunting, and they do it as a team. One may circle wide, another may wait low in the grass. Then, at just the right moment, they close in like pieces of a trap, snapping shut. Their prey can be fast, alert, and strong, but the lions count on surprise and teamwork. They eat a wide range of animals, from zebras and wildebeest to buffalo when the odds are right. And when food is scarce, lions will also scavenge, even feeding on carrion left behind by others. Life on the plains is never gentle for them, especially for mothers. After giving birth, a lioness must care for tiny cubs while her own body is still recovering. Yet she cannot simply rest. Those cubs depend on her milk, and she must keep herself fed if she wants them to survive. So she pushes on through exhaustion, through heat, through danger. The pride helps, and that support matters. Cubs are raised in a shared family life, often playing together, hiding under brush, and nursing from more than one female. Their world is one of close bonds and constant learning. They watch, they pounce. They tumble over one another like children in a backyard, except every lesson they learn may one day help them live through a hard season. Lions also matter far beyond their own pride. They help keep prey populations in check and often take the weak, the old, or the sick, which can make the herds healthier overall. But lions are under pressure in many places. They need room to roam, room to hunt, and room to raise young. Without that space, even the strongest king or queen can be pushed back. And that is the strange beauty of the lion. It looks like power wrapped in sunlight, but its real story is struggle, family, and endurance. Watch one long enough, and you see that the crown is not made of gold at all. It is made of dust, effort, and the will to keep going. The river goes quiet before the chaos begins. For a brief moment, you can hear the wind, the low murmur of thousands of hooves, and the soft slap of water against the bank. Then the first animals step forward, and the whole scene seems to hold its breath. Out in the dark water, danger is already waiting. This is the Mara River crossing, one of the most dramatic moments in all of Africa. It happens where the Great Migration meets a river that can be as unforgiving as fire. Here, wildebeest, zebras, and all the predators that follow them are locked in the same desperate story. At the front of the crowd, the brave make the first jump. Behind them, the rest follow, because there is no turning back. The first splash is a signal. After that, everything moves fast. Water erupts. Hooves churn mud into foam. Zebras plunge in close together, their legs pumping hard. Wildebeest push forward in waves, driven by instinct and fear. Then the crocodiles strike. They rise without warning, using that ancient stillness to their advantage. One animal bolts, another slips, and the current takes hold. The bank behind them keeps pressing. It is not cruel so much as unstoppable. Up on the far side, exhausted survivors drag themselves out of the river and gather into a trembling mass, breathing hard, alive, changed. But the danger is not over. Lionesses are already watching the crossing point, waiting for the weak, the young, and the tired. The river may have been crossed, but the battle for life is still very much underway. And when the dust settles, what remains is more than a struggle. It is a reminder that every safe step in the wild is earned the hard way. Here's the strange truth about the wild. The fiercest battles are only one part of the story. Just as important are the births, the migrations, the dry seasons, and the long, patient moments in between. That is what makes places like the Serengeti and the wider African plains feel so alive. Every hunt matters, every herd matters, every cub, calf, and chick matters. Lions may wear the crown in our minds, but they are only one thread in a much larger web of life. And when that web stays strong, the whole landscape can breathe. If these wild places have stayed with you, please like this video, subscribe for more journeys into nature, and share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us which animal or moment you'll remember most. Thanks for spending this time out on the plains with us. Until next time, keep your eyes on the wild and your heart open to wonder.